Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Superman and Lois Season 4 review series. And today I'm going to be talking about Episode 5, Breaking the Cycle, which I have just finished watching. And this episode was really good. I really enjoyed this one a lot. And this episode was more or less focusing on Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor was the main focus for this episode, and this was pretty much all Lex Luthor. Superman and Lois had their part in this episode, but this was mostly Lex Luthor featured as the main focus. And the majority of this episode was set in flashback as we learned about what really happened in the past between Lex Luthor and his wife Erica, and what happens with his relationship with his daughter and Lex Luthor's mission on trying to reach out to her and reconnect with her after being in prison for 17 years. And Lois and Clark were more or less trying to figure out a way to bring the bad feeling between them and Lex Luthor to a close. And we more or less saw Lois try to mend the fence between Lex Luthor and his daughter. And I thought this was really good. This was a very good episode and a little bit different to what we have seen before. We've been so used to, lots of action, which has been fantastic. We've always been so focused on the Kents and Lana Lang's family that we've never really dabbled into Lex Luthor's past. The closest thing we've had to a show dabbling in Lex Luthor's past was, of course, Smallville, which to this day did a tremendous job, and Michael Rosenbaum will always and forever be the best ever live action portrayal of Lex Luthor. But this episode, you know, took some different turns. There was some unusual surprises, and this episode did an excellent job in fleshing out Lex Luthor, the man, because we've always known Lex Luthor to be this evil genius who is obsessed and hell bent on destroying Superman. And while that hasn't changed, what we got from this episode was we got to see a different side to Lex Luthor that hasn't really been explored a whole lot in Superman media. We got to see Lex Luthor, the father, and that's something I don't think has really been explored in great detail. And I thought this episode did a really good job with that. And what we also got to see is in this episode, Clark is trying to figure out a way to defeat Doomsday, which I thought that was one of the highlights of this episode because the one thing, depending on what you read or depending what media you have watched, Superman has always been on the losing end of defeating Doomsday, and Doomsday has always come out on top and beaten him. Now, in the Justice League animated series, the Justice Lord Superman lobotomized Doomsday. He just fried him. Now, I'm not saying that is this the path Superman goes down in the show, but I'm just giving an example because most versions of Doomsday that I've seen, he's always been portrayed as the ultimate destroyer, the ultimate soldier. No matter what you do to him, he cannot be beaten. The more times you kill him, the more times he comes back stronger than ever. Now, this Doomsday isn't the Doomsday we know. This is Bizarro mutated into Doomsday. And the way they kind of got around the whole Doomsday thing was interesting. Now, it's going to remain to be seen how that will play out in the rest of the remaining episodes of the final season of Superman Lois. But if this is the way they've done this with Doomsday, It's interesting. That's all I'm going to say. It's not stupid. It's not crap or anything. It's just like, okay, wasn't really expecting that, but if it works, it works. More power to them. And having this episode take place 17 years in the past, pretty much starting with a flashback, I thought was very different but very good because we got to see a different Lex Luthor to the one we see right now in Smallville. We got to see Lex Luthor with big hair and this big beard, and it reminded me of Alexander Luthor III from the comic books, where he had this big long hair and this big beard. Now, I'm not really entirely sure if that was the look they're going for with this Lex Luthor, but if they were, then it really works. It's a very cool homage to the old early 1990s incarnation of Lex Luthor. I know there was one version where he transferred his mind into a clone of himself and made out he was Lex Luthor Jr. or something like that. So I kind of liked what they did here with this Lex Luthor, having a big beard and hair. I thought that was kind of cool. Made him look really mean and grisly and gruff. And the thing about Lex Luthor is he tries to be a good person. He wants to do the right thing, but he's so set in his ways and he won't break the habit, which is what this episode is all about, breaking the cycle. He just can't do it. It's in his DNA. He is who he is, and it proved in this episode that a leopard can never change their spots, and Lex Luthor is definitely that person. He'll never change. And, we saw throughout a number of flashbacks his marriage breaking down with Erica, and you know Lex Luthor is not capable of loving. He's tried to, and it's just not in him. And I thought this was very well done in this episode. And as I said, most of this episode was pretty much set in flashback. And as the episode went along, we would cut to the present. Clark says to Lois, "What about if I try to talk to Lex Luthor? Man to man, father to father. Maybe he'll see sense." And Lois, of course, turned around and said to Clark, "I don't think that'll work. It'll just make things worse." And Clark, being the hopeful guy that he is, he pretty much says to Lois, "Well, at least let me try. What have we got to lose?" So we see him meeting Lex Luthor as Superman. And the way this confrontation played out, it was very short, but it was so intense. And Lex comes out of his car and says, "Superman," or should I say Clark Kent, depending on what costume you're wearing today. And Superman more or less begged and pleaded with Lex, saying, "Look, you don't have to do this. There's always another way. You have to let this go." And Lex pretty much says, "No, never. Lois robbed me of 17 years of my life for a crime that I didn't commit. She's going to pay." And Superman more or less went out of his way and said, "I will not have you hurt my family." And wow, this scene was just played out so well, so fantastic. And we see Lois goes to London, finds Lex Luthor's daughter, who is almost 6 months pregnant, and she sets up the meeting with Lex Luthor and her. And the way that scene played out was tremendous. And as I said earlier, Clark was trying to figure out a way how to defeat Doomsday, and he played back all those moments he fought him. And yeah, it was tremendous stuff. It was just all I've got to say. It was all good. And the way Lois reached out to Doomsday, because I thought, what are you doing? You know what Doomsday is. He's a monster. He's a mindless beast. As I said, the ultimate destroyer. She called out Doomsday, and she reached out to the Bizarro side of his personality and pretty much told Doomsday, "I know what you've lost. I know what you've been through. You lost your family. You lost everything. Please don't hurt my family anymore. And even though Doomsday doesn't talk, thank God, he pretty much just left. So whether or not Lois has reached out to Doomsday, to the Bizarro side of his personality, we're just going to have to wait and see how that's going to play out in the rest of the remaining episodes of season 4. And we got another flashback where Lex Luthor says goodbye to his daughter before dropping her off to school, and Superman shows up at the school gate, and Lex pretty much says, "How dare you?" in front of my daughter. And Superman says, "I was told to bring you in quietly, but I thought I'd give you this one last chance to say goodbye to your daughter before you're taken away." Wow, unbelievable stuff. And yeah, this was really good. So Candace is now in on the secret, and obviously there are a few other people in on the secret. I've kind of got a rough idea how this is going to end, but I'll talk about that for another time. But if this is the way I think it's going to go with the whole finale, then I can see where this is going. But we'll see. I could be wrong, but I won't say anything for now. But with so many people knowing the secret, yeah, I think we know how this is going to end. But we'll see. We're just going to have to wait and see. And the way this episode ended with Lex finding out that someone contacted Doomsday and Doomsday's gone, you could see that Lex Luthor was really, really angry. So that's going to make for a really interesting next episode. But overall, I thought this episode was excellent. I really enjoyed this one a lot, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how the rest of this is going to play out. But now that Lex has lost his daughter's pretty much told him that I want nothing to do with you anymore after she made him choose between Lois and her. So Lex has lost Doomsday, it would seem. He's definitely lost his daughter. Lex Luthor has nothing left except vengeance. So you know Lex Luthor is going to be coming after Superman and his family, and more specifically Lois Lane, in a big, big way. So whew, it's going to be really epic. So that's going to be it from me. I'm going to wrap this up now. What did you guys think of episode 5? Did you enjoy it? How did you think the flashbacks were handled? Did you think they did a good job in fleshing out Lex Luthor as a father and as a character? What do you think's happened to Doomsday? Do you think Lois has reached out to Doomsday? Do you think Doomsday is gone? Do you think he'll be back? And also, can Clark actually defeat Doomsday? What does this mean for Lex Luthor? He's pretty much lost everything. Is he going to be coming out for revenge? Or what other tricks does he have up his sleeve? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below. And I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Superman and Lois Season 4 review series, where I am going to be talking about episode 6, which I am very much looking forward to talking about and seeing, especially with the way this one ended. It's going to be absolutely off the charts. I can't wait. So, until next time, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.